So I learned this fun statistics, which I can't wait to get your guys' reaction. But I just read that if you have experienced and lived resilience, that you increased your lifespan by 25%. Isn't that interesting?
Forever.
That's exactly what I told my husband. I was like, my life is built around resilience. I'm going nowhere. I thought it was very ironic because it ties in perfectly with the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I was like, wow, there's actually study backed with that. So today we're going to talk about building your resilient muscle. Today's not arm day, but bear with me. So I'm sure everyone in the room has their own stories about resilience. I'm sure we can talk about it, share it, and build great bonds over it. My story of resilience starts all the way back to 1989 when my family immigrated to the US from India. I won't start with that story, it's a very long time ago, but I will start with the one that pretty much led me to starting my business. So let's go back just a few years to January 31st, 2023. Before we go to that day, let's backtrack just a little bit more, and that is, I quit my toxic job of 11 years. And then from there, thank you, that took courage. It was the middle of the pandemic. It was like on the whim, that could be some talk, but anyways. I quit that job and landed my dream job. Like my dream job. Like I got the pay, the title as Director of Human Resources, like let's go. And then January 31st, 2023, that all changed. I don't know if you caught where I work, but I said startup tech company. I'm sure we're all familiar how volatile startups are, especially in the space of tech. So January 31st, unfortunately, I was laid off. My world came crumbling. I knew it was coming too, because I just did 3 rounds of layoffs. So I knew it was just a matter of time and that I was going to be next. I remember going into the office that day and I didn't even unpack because I just knew, like something was telling me today is my day. And it was. My sweet boss, my dream of a boss. I didn't even know good bosses could exist, and he gave me hope that they do. He couldn't even utter the words, he was just looking down. And I just kind of handed him the script. I was like, here's what I say. And he barely mumbled it all out, and I walked out the door. I was walking into the garage, calling my husband, holding it together, because like I said, I'm a resilient muscle, right? And then I called my husband, and I broke down, and I just started crying. And in the middle of my tears, I get a click, and I was like, who is calling? Don't they know I am like just trying to just cry right now? And it said recruiter, and I was like, interesting. So I decided to put my husband on hold, and I took the call. And I didn't really get to build my muscle that day on resilience, because on the other side of the call, this lady said, hey, are you looking for a job? I said, girl, as of a few minutes ago, yes, I am. And so I didn't really have to flex that muscle that day. And fast forward, I landed another dream job. So I thought. I landed the role as Chief People Officer, C-suite at the age of 36, a woman of color, making insane money. I doubled my previous salary. I was like, what is that depositing into my account every 2 weeks? I was like, is that for like a month? They're like, no, 2 weeks. I was like, okay, I can get used to this. Made many trips to the Galleria. The time was had. It was a great job, not just with the salary, not just with the title, but it was a job that I got to do what I loved. Because remember I talked about my toxic job. A job where no matter how hard you worked, you were never valued. And especially as a woman, you got bitch work, right? Your male colleagues are gonna get the better projects, right? They're gonna get the accolades. And God forbid you speak out, you're all of a sudden not, you're just the loud one, right? So that's when my passion turned into creating a space in corporate where it doesn't have to be toxic. Because even though I'm an entrepreneur now, I truly, truly believe that the 9 to 5 doesn't have to be a bad place to be. So building culture and building an environment where you can thrive is where my passion began. So when I landed the new job, I was pumped. I was like, okay, let's go, let's build culture. And that's what they brought me on for. They're like, we need fresh eyes, we want to increase morale, we need to increase retention, you know, just come flip everything upside down. I was like, let's go. Like, I'm your girl. So I thought. The honeymoon phase started to end. I realized there was a lot of quiet whispers when I walked down the hall. There was a lot of meetings after we had meetings, and strategies and agendas changed. And all of a sudden, all the red flags from the first job started to get brighter. And I was like, oof, this isn't going well anymore. I could feel that resilient muscle starting to flex. And I was not going down without a fight. I was like, you hired me for a job, and that is to change culture, build structure, and to do right by the people that are here. So I fought hard as hell. I was standing up for the equity of people to make sure that we are changing culture, that we are representing every employee, regardless of your background, and making sure that, well, I did my job. But toxicity, unfortunately, in the workplace often wins. And what I didn't want to happen, happened. I was fired. Let me be clear, not for performance, because I wasn't a cultural fit. I think every woman has heard this narrative, right? That we're not a cultural fit. Because, you know, when you stand your ground, all of a sudden you're just a problem, right? And when you challenge broken systems, they start seeing you as a threat. And when you shine a little too bright, all of a sudden, you're just too much, or you're fake. A narrative we've all heard way too much. So my resilient muscle started kicking in. I walked out the door. I was heartbroken, because like I said, I was there for the passion. I was there for the underdogs. I was there to bring change to a place that was very toxic. But again, I wasn't a cultural fit, so we parted ways. It was a very humbling moment, because I had to really think about everything that happened. And really think about when the titles are gone, the purses are gone, the private jets, the overflowing champagne, when all of that is gone, who are we? What is our legacy? On what basis are we building that resilient muscle? Right? And you start to really evaluate your purpose. In those moments, it seemed like my world was falling apart, but little did I know it was actually all falling into place. So I turned that moment into a moment of clarity for myself. Decided to bet on myself and still hold on to that mission that we are going to change culture, empower women, and make sure that we're bold in rooms and we don't need to back down or shine less or dim the light or speak softly, right? Because I remembered I'm still a leader. I'm still a creator. I'm still a community builder. I'm still a woman that's gonna uplift and support any woman and every woman. And that's when Coaching with Dhara came to life. I was like, we're going to help professionals and entrepreneurs thrive. Because you know what? I needed one of me when I was going through it. And even though I did hire a coach, don't hire that one. So anyway, but that's okay. She wasn't meant for me. But she definitely taught me a lot of things. And all of these moments that I went through taught me a lot as well. Like I said, resilience isn't in those big moments. It's been all the moments leading up to it. So even though in my head, when I thought the foundations of Coaching with Dhara stemmed from those two pivotal moments, it really didn't. It was all the micro moments and habits that were forming in between. Every time that I paused before I reacted, every time I honored a boundary that I was setting, every time I chose myself in rooms and situations, those were the resilient muscles in the making. So here's what I want you to take away. Not just the fact that, okay, Dhara was laid off and fired and she started her business, but the fact that resilience is about choosing yourself even when others don't. Speaking up even when your voice is shaky. And walking away even if it's costing you way too much. And most importantly, knowing you're bigger than the rooms that are trying to shrink you. So, like I said, those big pivotal moments are not the moments that build your resilient muscle. It's your whole lifetime in how you respond to situations on the daily that are those moments. So remember this, that in the moment of adversity, there is another side. And when you're starting over, it's not about starting over from survival and disappointment and failures and the fact that, oh my gosh, I'm forced to do something. It has nothing to do with that, because the resilient muscle, it's already built in us. We've already had so many moments that led us to this moment. So when you're thinking about, and if you're contemplating your own journey in this moment, where things are unclear, uncertain, if you're feeling lost, or, just, am I building my resilient muscle enough? Just know that you are. And resilience is all about pushing forward, not pushing backwards. Because they always say, oh, I'm over here for the bounce back. We are not here for the bounce back. Because do you want to bounce back to that?
No.
I don't. I'm here to use my resilience energy to bounce forward, to take the data that I learned from all the insights that I gained from my failures, my rejections, my low moments, and turn them into a new, brand new, resilient identity. One that truly shapes you and moves you forward to the trajectory you're looking for. So remember, you're never starting over, you're just starting at a higher frequency. Thank you.
That's awesome.
So we want to make this interactive, and like I said, I know I'm not the only one that has a resilient muscle in this room. So I want to hear from all of you. So I have some few questions. Raise your hand if you're wanting to speak, otherwise I will call on you.